it in. We broke down the door, we came to win. TLA Season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold-ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.
Welcome to 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 75 of our podcast, 32 Kings Road. And on today's show, we will conclude our NFL International Series preview by talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers, who will be competing this upcoming Monday in Mexico. We will also go over the hottest topics after Week 10 of the NFL. We will continue our segment, the S. Carter collection, as well as bring back our rabbit hole segment, which should be lots of fun. And also we'll make some game picks. But first, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram. Also, please check out our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, as well as our website, theleagueam.com, where you can see and hear all of our previous podcasts, both on this show as well as our secondary show, Confirmation Bias. Shout out to Chief Diplomat Nick Blackman holding it down on our on-site blog spot, Diplomatic Immunity. Let's get this show on the road. Red-O. What you sipping on, sir?
Not a goddamn thing. I don't know why. It just happened that way. But I'm also sipping on the fact that this week, one of my fantasy quarterbacks was on a bye, and my other fantasy quarterback was hurt. So I picked up no other than Mitchell Trubisky. And that motherfucker came through in the clutch for me with 3 touchdowns.
You should pick him up every week for the rest of the season so that you can get a double whammy, right?
Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. This was a one-time thing.
I'm sipping on some Sierra Nevada for the 4th week in a row. I'm also sipping on Code Switchers and Pied Pipers. Let me explain. What I mean.
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it? 2 luminaries in the NFL this week got nicknames for me. First of all, we've got Russell Wilson, great quarterback, and we call him the Code Switcher. Not only because of how he can adjust his vernacular and his tone, depending upon the audience he's in front of, but also because it becomes clear that he can shift very easily from being a prototypical pocket quarterback to being that scrambling game-winning quarterback.
It's a skill.
It's a skill, and it's making him very hard to beat this season. And then I'm also sipping on Pied Pipers. For those of you that aren't familiar with the exploits of one R. Kelly, he is the Pied Piper of R&B. He's also sitting in a jail cell. Earlier this year, he had a famous interview with Miss Gayle King, where he said that he was, quote, fighting for his fucking life. And I want you to know that the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, he must have gave that same speech, because that's the only explanation for why they were able to be the New Orleans Saints. Code Switchers and Pied Pipers. Red-O. Not you, Red-O. Junior Blue. I gave you all
right, well, I'm sipping on some water because I'm prepping for the shenanigans when Chef Curry get in town.
Hey.
In a couple weeks. And I'm also sipping on the game Monday night. The Seahawks and 49ers. It looked like a heavyweight fight out there. The crowd was amped. It went into overtime. You know what? It looked like Russ got knocked to the canvas with that interception with, 5 minutes left to go in the overtime. And he came back and figured out a way to win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that looked like MVP to me.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
Gentlemen, another Tuesday. I'm sipping on some Arizona tea with honey and ginseng. It cures hangovers. with the best of them, but I'm keeping it history related as usual. November 12th, 1892, the Allegheny Athletic Association beat the Pittsburgh Athletic Club. And what's important about this date in this game, of course, no one recognized either one of these teams, but it was technically the first time that a player by the name of William Heffelfinger, that's an awesome last name, he got paid $500 to compete in this game, which technically means it was the start of professional football. So yeah, today, 127 years ago, pro football started, and now we're here.
There's no more of those weird last names running around here. It's like somebody went into the genetic pool and eliminated all the Heffelfingers and Doppelgangers. Dad, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
What you sipping on?
Public service announcement. I just don't want anyone to drink all day, talk to DirecTV, and walk down slippery steps at the same time. It's going to be by far the best recorded call in DirecTV history.
Was this after that rail was put in?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
And while you were on the phone with DirecTV?
Yes. I felt like Aunt Bunny and Delirious. So now that we got that out of the way, what I wanted to sip on or discuss is today we got news. We were informed that the NFL arranged a private workout for one Colin Kaepernick for this Saturday in Atlanta. This workout will include an interview as well. Both interview and workout will be available via video to all teams. So given the fact that we have several teams, as we discussed in the last couple of weeks, that are in dire need of quarterbacks, and there's actually some viable options in this year's draft, I want to pose 3 questions. 1, is this a good time for Colin to do this? 2, what is the NFL saying by doing this? And 3, as we started the season off with, does this have anything to do with Jay-Z and the NFL's relationship? Now, before I throw it out there to you guys, I want to mention a few names that are still starting and are backups in the league. We have Case Keenum, Josh Rosen, Brian Hoyer, Geno Smith, who actually has some value. We'll get to that later. Blaine Gabbert, the Thief, Mike Glennon, Blake Bortles, Matt Schaub, Josh Johnson, and Sean Mannion.
Sean Mannion still in the fucking league?
Yes.
Wow.
So with that being said, I like to throw it out to you guys. Not in any particular order. Any of those 3 questions. Is this a good time? What is the NFL trying to do with this move? And does it have anything to do with Hova?
I mean, anything is a good time for Cap because he wants to come back to work. However it works out, he as long as he does what he's supposed to do, he because he wants to go to work. Have no idea if this has anything with Hova. I seriously doubt it, because if it did, this shit would be out. And if he is correct about how the NFL is handling it, then it seems like, okay, let's get him out of our way once and for all. We gave him a tryout. Nobody's going to want him.
When you say that, elaborate on what they're doing.
Because they normal tryouts, I think, is on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They're making him do it on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They're not giving him any team list of any executives for any teams that are going to be there. So it's almost like, okay, we're going to videotape this.
Because they can't, because there won't be. Keep going.
Exactly. We're going to videotape this. We got proof of concept. Now bye. Kick rocks. Nobody wants you. And they did their job. I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the settlement that they had a certain amount of time to have him get, like if no one picked him up, he got a workout or something like that.
And add on top of that the fact that NFL teams were not even made aware that this workout was going to happen.
Kaepernick.
Neither was Kaepernick, right? But there was no coordination with teams. So when Kaepernick found out, is the same time that you found out, is the same time that GMs across the league found out. So your second question is, I think, the most poignant one in that the NFL, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head, Redo, they're just trying to be done with this once and for all.
Say we gave him a shot. Now get on.
Kev, you have anything that?
Yeah, and I mean that's what it feels like. We talk about this all the time, but being black in this country, anytime something positive happens, you kind of got to look at it from a different point of view. You have to be skeptical. But just from a football standpoint, like shit, I guess I can speak for all of us when I say we want to see him play. I want to see him get the opportunity. I'd love for the Ravens to pick him up just to let him have a job. If you look at from a football standpoint, fucking Houston Texans could use him the way that they treat their current starting quarterback. They may need someone like Kaepernick to fill a role, kind of like how RG3 does with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. But I'll be honest, before today, I thought that if it didn't happen for Kaepernick by now, that it wouldn't. And Kenyon and I touched on this earlier, just about how, in my opinion, just the league has changed this year in terms of teams are just going younger and raw in terms of their quarterback and willing to pull a trigger to just find a younger guy that they can build around. So I would just think, in theory, Cat being 32, birthday was last week, it wouldn't necessarily fit the way the NFL is going. But shit, with this news coming out, if it does turn into something, I'd be great for that to happen. But I'm just skeptical, just the way this whole thing was put together.
Well, you mentioned 32, and we talked earlier about this. 32 might be old in a lot of instances in this sport, but quarterback is not one of those positions, especially one that hasn't been taking a beating for the last 3 years. But I wanted to ask you, Kenyon, because you brought up something. We were talking about this in prep. You mentioned that with everything that's going on right now, the top 4 candidates for MVP, mostly 4 out of 5, are all quarterbacks of that ilk.
Exactly. The one thing, and I think the reason why, and we talked a lot about, and now I'm going to TLA business. We talked a lot about our meeting and Kwesi, and one of the things that our producer said to me was like, hey, you still take the meeting because you never know.
Always take the meeting.
And so the thing with Kaepernick is that he still goes through with this because the best quarterbacks by far in today's NFL, Kevin mentioned 2 of them, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, they all come from the school of Colin Kaepernick. So if there is one team that sees what is happening and is willing on some level to adjust their offense around someone that has the skill set that Kaepernick has, then that could be the opportunity that Kaepernick needs and then would allow him to get back into the league.
Are there no GMs showing up to this?
I mean, you got to think about it like this. I think there are 4 teams that are on a bye, so maybe those 4 GMs will show up. But typically on a Saturday, that's a travel day. So the teams that are on the road are already the teams that are at home are already in their hotels, getting situated, getting ready for the game. That's personnel included.
Just showing up.
And the away teams are just showing up.
But don't most franchises have like those scouts that are, able to go and do that?
They're scouts, but like, at the end of the scouts are going to report. Yes, it's possible.
Right.
But a decision like a quarterback, especially one that hasn't been seen for 3 years.
Hey, what's the first question they're going to ask him in the interview?
Are you going to kneel? We know that. One last thing before we get out of here. All right, now, from everyone, I'm kind of hearing the same thing, that this is a way for the NFL to get rid of him. What if it's the reverse of that? What if they actually are trying to force this on? I'm just saying, because why else make this if he didn't even know it?
That's why I assumed it was something to do with the settlement, where if he didn't get picked up by a certain team, then the NFL would do it. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
But wouldn't he have known of that, though?
Yeah, but because his representation has said something about them trying to schedule it for a Tuesday, so it seems like there was something going on.
And also, he's been working out for a while as well. Omar watches a lot of TV. I think the other thing, though, I didn't
crack a smile. He's right.
The other thing, though, could be that the NFL has taken the temperature amongst their consumers, and this is no longer an issue. So it's possible that owners are no longer concerned about a potential backlash because that's no longer a hot topic amongst the consumers of the NFL. We'll see. Let's get to our moments in Handag segment. This is where we discuss the history of the teams that are participating in the NFL International Series. London has concluded their games. There's only one game left, and that's this upcoming Monday. The Kansas City Chiefs going against the Los Angeles Chargers. Last week, we talked about the Kansas City Chiefs specifically or exclusively, seeing as how this is the first time that we've brought them into the series. We talked about who we felt like should be on the Mount Rushmore for the organization. This week, we will talk about, in one word, how we would summarize the legacy or the history of both Kansas City as well as the Los Angeles Chargers. We have had the Chargers in an history segment before because they have played over in Europe. Both of these organizations are AFL charter members. They both relocated within the first 3 years of the history of their franchise. Kansas City, year 3. The Chargers actually year 1. Funny enough, the Chargers' first year in football, they were the Los Angeles Chargers, and then they moved to San Diego. Both teams have a good number of playoff appearances throughout their history. The Chiefs, 19. The Chargers, 21. But they do not have a Super Bowl to show for it. They also share one terribly great coach in Marty Schottenheimer within their history. We'll start with Kansas City, and I will start with you, Kevin. In one word, how would you describe or summarize the legacy, the history of the Kansas City Chiefs organization?
All right. Well, first off, I want to say happy birthday to the good brother, Mason Bill, former Baltimore legend. Happy birthday, young sir. But to answer your question, my one word would be rice. And I want y'all to roll with me on this. Rice, yes, the food. Rice is it's been around forever. It's reliable, digestible, gets the job done. It has its moments, but nobody ever brags about rice after dinner. It's not the thing that sets the night off. And for me, that is what the Kansas City Chiefs have been since they came to be. They've had a stretch from 1971 to 86 where they didn't make the playoffs, but then after that, they never went more than 3 seasons without a winning record. And since then, they've had 14 10-win seasons over the last 20 years. But the furthest that they ever got was 2 AFC championship losses, one in 93 and then just last year. But I mean, the Chiefs are always there, but people don't order rice. They order shrimp fried rice. It's got to be something extra to them. And for the Chiefs, it just seems like, again, you always expect them to be there. They're always there, but it's nothing ever to write home about. How many Kansas City Chiefs fans do you know outside of Kansas City?
2.
One.
Yeah.
And one of them's at my house every week. 2.
That's the only one I know.
Case in point.
All right. Rice, Redo. Top that.
Pun intended.
Hey, gravy. My word is tantalizing.
Rice can be tantalizing.
It can be.
Apparently not.
Tantalizing.
I'm never eating rice at Kev's house.
You use butter and sugar. Tantalizing means tormenting or teasing with the sight or promise of something unobtainable. And the Kansas City Chiefs are considered a well-run organization. They've had a legendary owner. They have fistfuls of Hall of Fame players. They have one of the best loyal fan bases in the state. But every year since 1970, which was their last Super Bowl win, they have tantalized their fan base with wins, playoff appearances, but they have tormented them with losses when it mattered. And it is something that is weird when you think about it for such a well-run organization.
Yep.
To never get over the top.
Yep.
And because usually that's what you have. You at least get something. So, you're at least there sometimes when you have a well-run organization.
And a well-run one.
Yeah, that's what did I say?
Oh, did I miss it?
You did. He tripping. But yeah, so my word is tantalizing, which really means tormenting.
All right. That.
My word is abortive.
This is interesting.
Gotta see where
Abortive,
this
the
is
definition of abortive is failing to produce the intended result.
Mm-hmm.
So as Brother O mentioned, they've had success in the past. They were the first AFL team to reach the Super Bowl twice.
Right.
They were the second AFL team to win the Super Bowl after the Jets did in Super Bowl 4. They won theirs, Jets was in 3. They've had zero success after the merger in 70. In their 11 playoff trips since 1993, they have gone 2-11, while 8 of those games were at home. And Arrowhead is one of the best home field advantages in all of sports.
Absolutely.
So they're, like Kevin said, they're always there. But if you get 8 home games out of 11 and you can't win, and one of those 2 wins was this past year.
Mm.
Before that, it was 94 or something, I want to say. Abortive.
The Chiefs are Junior Blue's fiercest rival, so we'll save him for last. My word was real simple. Backs. You'd be hard-pressed to find an organization that has had a better collection of running backs than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Or collective.
Or collective, for that matter. We'll start with one that you may not know, and that's Joe Delaney. Joe Delaney had an outstanding rookie season as a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. He rushed for over 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he deserves mention because he died. Abortive. He died drowning, saving kids. And he was able to save one kid, but because he didn't know how to swim himself, he passed away. You've got Ed Polanski, or I'm sorry, not Polanski, but Podolak. Ed Podolak, who is 4th all-time in Kansas City history with 4,400 rushing yards. He played for the Chiefs for 8 years. He was probably the Chiefs' first, what you would call versatile back, running and catching the ball out of the backfield. You've got Tony Richardson as a fullback, who is definitely in the top 10 in the NFL history of all-time great fullbacks. Then you've got a guy like Jamal Charles. You've got a guy like Larry Johnson, who had 40 touchdowns between 2005 and 2006, back-to-back 1,700-yard careers. Marcus Allen joined the Chiefs. And Marcus Allen is one of the best running backs in the history of the NFL. And when he went to Kansas City, it was thought that his career was on the decline, but in actuality, he collected over almost 5,000 yards of offense in 5 seasons. And then you have Priest Holmes, who went to Kansas City and I believe is the best running back in the history of the franchise. So when you think about the Kansas City Chiefs, again, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find an organization that has not had a better collection of running backs in NFL history.
Kenyon, you're not going to sit here and disrespect Larry Johnson like that and not mention him.
I did mention Larry Johnson.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I was on that.
Now he looking for us, Devin.
I didn't want to spend too much time on it.
Right,
My bad.
Because
I was doing show business. My bad.
right, because you turn around and if you start, you can make a right turn on Kansas City Chiefs organizational history, and you could talk about something else. So I don't want to go there.
Ooh.
I'll just go to Junior Blue. And Junior Blue, what's your word?
He's a fantastic Twitter follow, though. Please follow Larry Johnson.
My word is historic. Kind of on the lines of what Dev said, and what O said. Since 1970, they haven't done shit. You talk about the team, and you talk about Lamar Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, AFL founder, brought the leagues together, NFL and AFL together. They won the Super Bowl, 69 Super Bowl.
Yep.
Since then, you talked about they've had, I think it was 16 times they've gone to the playoffs since then. They've gone to the conference finals twice in that time. They've had Hall of Famers on defense. They've had Hall of Famers on offense. Even when we discussed last week, who their best players were, outside of you, everybody else was historic. So that's you think about everybody.
Pat Mahomes is historic.
Everybody, he had a historic season, not this one. Everybody that, I mean, you think about all those running backs that they named.
Mm-hmm.
It never got them anything. They have been, since 1970, they have been to the AFC Championship game twice. One being last year, and the other one being 1990-something.
1993 with Joe Montana.
So everything about them, everything when you talk about them is historic.
Well, and shout out to the Nigerian Nightmare. That's all I wanted to say.
Steve Atwater says hello.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Let's get to our S. Carter Collective. Junior Blue.
Kenyon.
All right.
I did it, huh?
Yeah.
Because I was reading the paper. Let's get to the S. Carter collections. Yes, sir.
All right. So I have a quick little verse from All I Need from Jay-Z. It starts off, fuck it. I guess I got my swagger back. Mama, they said I killed a man. Well, I guess I got my dagger back. It's the Steelers, bastards. We are back. After winning 4 games in a row, their remaining schedule, the Browns twice, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Bills, Jets, and ending off with the Ravens, they have a chance to be a 10-win team and make it to the playoffs. And 5 weeks ago, we thought they was going to be picking in the top 3.
And Tomlin was going to be in Washington.
Exactly. So, I mean, they got their swagger back. The defense is playing. I don't know where that came from.
My fantasy team thanks you, Mike.
I don't.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
I think 10 of their 11 defensive starters are first round picks. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I've seen this movie from Pittsburgh before. Big Ben will miss a season, half a season, all the season. They still keep it rolling. So hopefully they fall off.
All right. Let's get back to Moments in Hendag. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers in one word. I'm going to go to Dad first because, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to listen to this word right here. Dad, take it away.
The word for the Chargers is skinflint. And that is a person who spends very little money as much as possible. The reason why I say that, because these motherfuckers are cheap. And there's several different things that we can point to show this. They routinely try and underpay talent. LT, well, not really LT, but LaDainian Tomlinson, Quentin Jammer, Phillip Rivers, and Bosa all held out. All of them held out for their first contract as a rookie. They are one of the reasons why that rookie scale got negotiated, because of their notoriously for being cheap. They never pay for big free agents. They let good players who they should sign walk because they don't want to pay them. And most importantly, they have the worst training staff in all of sports.
Have you done some research on them? Because that training staff is abysmal.
I mean, they routinely miss out on playoffs and seeding because they're always hurt. A couple years ago, they had tight ends playing tackle because they didn't have anybody. Cheap.
Skinflint.
And I am using that always now.
Skinflint. Just stop skinflinting.
It sounds like schmuck.
Red O, what's your word for the Chargers?
Ownership. And it multiple meanings, as in the ownership is horrible, as in ownership refuses to take ownership of their mistakes.
Onus.
So I did a quick thing where I wanted to see what came up first when I Googled Dean Spanos.
Oh, this is fun.
Not one thing that was positive came up. Not one. I couldn't find one. Like, there was nothing positive that came up about his ownership tenure of I was about to say San Diego Chargers.
It's okay. Troy Aikman says it every week.
Right. You would think there would have to be something positive, right? When you are universally known as a skinflint, I tried to come up with a paragraph that was something nice. This is the best paragraph I found of the first 10 things I saw. Dean Spanos has long been a terrible owner. He became the president of the San Diego Chargers in 1994, and during that time he was in charge, he oversaw some of the most embarrassing moments in franchise history. On 2 separate occasions, his complete lack of leadership led to situations in which he was forced to choose between his head coach and his general manager. Both times he made the wrong choice. This was the nicest thing I found. Ownership.
Lord.
And lack of owning up to your mistakes.
All right. Junior Blue.
I have blues.
Of course.
Why did he sound like a second grader? Give it a book report. My word is blues.
It's a sad franchise. I mean, outside of the infamous powder blue jerseys,
Which are fire.
Yeah.
that's the best thing about it. Damn. So, just think about this. In 50 years, they have made the playoffs 14 times. They have.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
In 50 years, well, since just about 49 years,
Okay.
they've made the playoffs 14 times.
All right.
All the Hall of Famers that they have had on both sides of the ball, they have made it to one Super Bowl.
Right. 94.
94,
Humphries.
and some would say they didn't even make it to that Super Bowl because they sure as hell didn't show up against the 49ers. They give their fans the blues. They had the option of keeping Drew Brees or going Phillip Rivers. Guess what? 5 years after letting Brees go, he wins the Super Bowl. You have a core fan in the city of San Diego, and what do you do to them? You move to Los Angeles,
Where nobody wanted you.
where nobody wanted you.
Blues.
And Dean Spanos is such a bad owner. The fans in San Diego who love them don't even want to take the 2-hour drive to see the games.
All right.
The San Diego Chargers, because they will never be the LA Chargers. They might be the London Chargers before I call them the LA Chargers, have given their city and their fans and hell, their players the blues because they don't want to play them. So it's blues for me.
Part of the reason why, and there's going to be a correlation here between your word, my word, and then Chef Curry's. Part of the reason why they give off the blues is because of the polarity in the history of the organization. You go back all the way to 1992, and it doesn't matter if Bobby Ross is the coach, Marty Schottenheimer, Norv Turner, Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn. There's always, in their seasons, there's a period where it's either going really bad and then it gets really good, or it starts off really good and then it goes really bad. 1992, they literally were the first team in NFL history to start 0-4 and then make the playoffs. You go to 1994, they started off 6-0. They finished 5-5. They go 11-5. That was their Super Bowl year. You go to 1995, they started off 4-7. They win their last 5 to go to 9-7 to make the playoffs. Go to 2002. They started off 4-0. They finished 8-8. 2005, they started out 3-4. Then they won 7 in a row. 2009, they started out 2-3. And then they won 11 in a row to go 13-3. And that's when they went up to New England and laid a stink egg when everybody thought they were going to the Super Bowl. 2010, first season without LaDainian Tomlinson. They started out 2-5. Then they had a 4-game winning streak. And then they followed that up with a 5-game losing streak. 2011, they started out 4-1. They win 6. They lose the next 6. 2013, started out 5-0. They finish 4-7. 2015 started out 2-2.
We get it.
Then they lost 6 games in a row. Like literally,
Wrap it up, B.
like literally. You say wrap it up, but the fact of the matter is because of either injuries, it's ownership not spending the money they need to in the right way, whether it's with incoming rookies or whether it's because of free agents, because they're used to giving their team the blues Skin flinch, throw it off. Unless you broke the streak. You're supposed to say skin flint in there. This is an organization who is steeped in polarity.
And that's going to piggyback right into that shit too.
Kev.
Yeah, man. My word is disquieting. By definition, it induces feelings of anxiety and worry. And just to piggyback off what you were saying, 5 times in the last 13 years, they've lost in the divisional round of the playoffs. It's like, no matter how their season starts, we know how it's going to end. They are the definition of doom and gloom, like you were saying. And it's almost like no matter how good things appear, they crash and burn. And then you mentioned this, but the 2002 season to me is like the embodiment of what this franchise has been. Like you said, they started out 4-0. They were 8-4. They were on their way. All y'all had to do was win one of these games. And they lost 4 in a row, including the last game of the season, I believe, to the Seahawks in overtime, which made last night come full circle. But yeah, it's awful. But what makes it worse, though, is that after everything you just said, which I'm glad we let you rock off this long, you still fucking chose to. I mean, as Damo said on the feed, this is a team that let Junior Seau go. How much of an asshole do you have to be to let a gentle giant like Junior Seau go? He leaves and goes to. Is that when he went to New England, right?
No, he went to Miami.
He went to Miami.
He went to Miami, right? He was there first. Yeah, but it's just like, how do you? I don't know. Some people you have to keep in your franchise and retire there and make one of yours. And the fact that he even wanted to leave there, it's awful. It's a terrible
He was
place.
from San Diego.
You ever been to Qualcomm Stadium?
Yes.
It's
Trash.
Awful. It was awful.
Their TVs are straight from 1963. So the fact that I chose the Chargers last year as a fan should tell you everything that you need to know about Jared Goff, which leads us into football tea and hot topics. Let's get to our hot
segue
topics. Right. And so we will start first in Indianapolis. And there's a real question here. Adam Vinatieri is responsible for 3 of the 4 losses that the Colts have. They are 5-4. He leads the league with 11 missed field goals. This is the same Adam Vinatieri, just in case you are Rip Van Winkle and you've been asleep since the late 90s. This is the same Adam Vinatieri who is still widely regarded as the most clutch kicker, not the best. That's reserved for Justin Tucker. But he is the most clutch kicker in NFL history. The question I have for you guys, is it time for the Indianapolis Colts to let him go? Red-O.
It's time for the Colts to let him go like the league let go of Kaepernick. Like, he should be hot potato, nobody touching this mother. He's done. Any other kicker would have been cut already. Any other kicker in the league would have been cut. You causing that many losses, he is living off a name alone, which is legendary. Legends die.
What's taking him so long, Junior Blue?
He tried to quit after the first missed field goal early in the season. The game winner. He was like, I don't have it no more.
Mm-hmm.
Coach was like, nah, man, you got to come back. So yeah,
So they deserve this,
yes,
is what you're
they
saying.
definitely deserve it.
Wow.
It's time to dip. I mean,
Like,
it's not 11 missed field goals, 11 missed kicks, 5 field goals, 6 extra points.
Mm-hmm.
2 games they lost by 2, and in both of those games he missed a field goal. And then 1 game they lost by 6 where he missed 2 field goals. So you do the math. I mean, he's done a lot for the game. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But yo, it's time to bow out.
Cody Parker did better than that.
Kev, why won't they do it?
Well, to answer your question, is it time? I would say no, because that time passed like 3 months ago. I mean, and I don't mean this to jab at all, but Omar, you opened the door, so let me walk through it. How many times do teams need to learn that a competent kicker is the difference between moving on to the next round or going home? And they continue to want to learn this lesson every week. They're in an AFC, which, if you can imagine, when Andrew Luck decided to walk away from the game, that we'd be at this point in the season and they would have a chance to make the playoffs. Yet they still trot this motherfucker out there. Again, Omar, you can relate. Trotting this motherfucker out there on the field.
You don't have to keep saying it, motherfucker. I know.
that was jab after
Super Bowl
jab.
picks coming full circle. But I'm just saying they should have been made this move, and it's almost to a point where we talked about Pittsburgh, but it's getting to a point where it's too late to where they've given up the ground they could have had they had someone who could kick the ball between the uprights.
This is for our buddy Mike Nichols. The definition of irony. The Indianapolis Colts, the franchise where one player left too soon and one player is staying too late.
In the same season.
A week ago, the Green Bay Packers, the New Orleans Saints, the New England Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers were probably all regarded as the 4 best teams in the NFL, and all of them have had recent losses. The Packers came here to LA, got smacked by the Chargers. The Saints, as I alluded to in my sipping on,
Fight for my fucking life.
ran into the Pied Piper, that is the Atlanta Falcons, and took a L at home. The New England Patriots got thumped by the Ravens, and last night the San Francisco 49ers took a L to the Seattle Seahawks. Question I have for you guys: which of these losses were just blips on the radar, and which of these losses were warning signs? Dad?
I'm going to say that the Patriots' loss is a warning sign.
Okay.
They're going to be fine. What I mean by that is they're still going to win their division. They're still going to, probably go to the AFC Championship game. But what we did to them, it shows that, one, they were playing against historically bad teams. That defense isn't as good as they thought that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can run the ball, which several of their next opponents can, you can give them problems. They also cannot score on good teams. Like, they have a hard time getting good offense. I think that is something that's there that's a warning sign. As far as blips, I mean, the other teams you mentioned, I think the Packers, they just struggle on offense. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been completely lighting it up like he normally is. In the last couple of weeks, it showed different. I think he'll get it together. I mean, he's an all-time great QB. I think that's more of a blip.
Redo?
The Saints is the blip. like before last week, they were considered the best team and almost the best team in the league, if not the best team in the league. I'm not going to believe that they're not. They have so much talent on that team, top to bottom. That was a blip. I think the Saints get back to doing what the Saints do next week. The Pats, we already knew, as you so eloquently said before, you can run on them. Y'all called it. It was going to happen. There's a blueprint. The Niners ran up against a quarterback playing as good as any quarterback has ever played in the league. Like, that was a great game. Those are two good teams. The Packers, fuck them, so it doesn't matter. The one true blip was the Saints.
Junior Blue?
I actually have the Packers being the one needing the warning because they came out here and the Chargers haven't shown anything all season, and they dominated the Packers from the first quarter to the fourth. I think New England was a blip because we know the Ravens are good. They went to Baltimore and played, and they lost to a good team, which had a quarterback, a dynamic quarterback, which they hadn't seen anything like the whole season. I would love to see the rematch. I'm sure you guys would too. As far as the Saints, I feel like it was a blip mainly because it is a rivalry game. Your rival is at the bottom right now. So
it's fighting for their fucking life.
Fighting for their life. You coming off a bye. I feel like they walked in there and said this is going to be a cakewalk. And it was. I mean, Atlanta still has talent. So I feel like that was a blip. And then last night's game was it was a great game. I mean, that for sure is a blip. You're not going to win them all.
Kev?
Yeah, in the 127 years people have getting paid to play this game, I think if you're going to be a serious team, you have to be able to run the ball, play defense, and have a quarterback who you can just put the game in his hands and say, bro, we need one. For Green Bay, I feel what you're saying. Let's actually disagree just because although the last 2 weeks the Packers haven't been playing that well, overall they've beaten 4 to 5 solid teams. I think Aaron Rodgers has a run game, finally has some balance on that team. With the Saints, like Kenyon said, we can all say we ban R. Kelly, but like if the remix to Ignition come on, like you going to dance a little bit. I think that's what happened to the Saints.
All in the game, baby.
That shit came on. They got put up in the
remix
song.
to Ignition. Not in the kitchen.
Look at him. That's Jay-Z. The Patriots, we go through this every year. They don't play nobody. They have a tough loss. We'll see them in January. 3 of the 4 teams that we'll mention have Super Bowl winning or Hall of Fame quarterbacks except the Niners. And although I think Jimmy G was put in a tough spot last night, missing his top 2 targets, he was under pressure. It was a crazy game. It kind of proved as of right now that if they have to put the ball in his hands to win a game, we don't know if he can do it. I'm not saying he can't, but with those other guys, we've seen it done time and time again. With Jimmy G, we're going to find out. And I think this is where we really find out if he's worth it. He faces adversity. How does he bounce back? He has the rest of the season to prove that.
Well, we know that he has chicks that. Never mind.
Remix too.
Before we get out of here, conference check-in in the NFC. Who's going to win the NFC least? Dallas took a loss this weekend. They lost to Minnesota at home. They're 5-4. Philadelphia coming off of a bye. They're also 5-4. Do we still believe that the Cowboys are going to walk away with this division? Rapid fire. Kev, yes or no?
No.
No. Redo?
No.
No. Dad?
No.
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 Philadelphia?
Yep.
Have you
After-
seen the Eagles
after they-
schedule?
After they signed Antonio Brown.
They got the Giants twice, the Dolphins and Redskins and Cowboys.
Yeah.
They're
They
gonna-
could lose the next 2 to New
Yeah,
England and
New England,
Seattle and
and
win
still
out.
win out, yeah.
10-6.
Yeah.
Wow. And now going to the AFC. We know New England, Baltimore, and Houston are the class of the AFC. Who are the 3 next best teams? And I want to go to Junior Blue first to hear, after you go for those first 3, which I think is without question, who do you have, sir?
I have the Chiefs,
Okay.
the Raiders,
Hmm.
and the Colts.
The Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Colts.
Yep.
Talk to us about the Raiders, sir.
Well, we get an identity. Josh Jacobs running the ball. We have the short passing game. Waller's getting covered now, so now we're finding Renfro.
So should I find a new tight end?
You might need a new tight end.
Shit.
I picked up
You might
Renfro.
need, you might need a new tight end. The defense, I don't know how we're doing it because we're literally playing with 2 linebackers
Uh-huh.
and 5 defensive backs the whole game, unless Will Compton comes in and play. Yeah,
Mhm.
Will Compton.
Yep.
But they're getting it done.
Do you agree with Junior Blue, Dad?
For the most part, I have the Raiders as one of those. Gruden can coach.
Mm-hmm.
I have Chiefs because Mahomes is still playing football. Last time I checked,
Right.
and his collection or collective, the Steelers. That defense is for real. And the locker room has Tomlin's back. So
I agree with that.
You agree with Dad?
Yeah,
the
I had the
Steelers over the Colts.
That was the only thing different from
Kev?
I actually had the same that Les did until Devin started talking and reminded me Adam Vinatieri is ended up as his kicker. So yeah, I'll swap them out for Pittsburgh, but just a point for the Raiders. And thank you, Les. You finally in 4 years said the Ravens were legit. I think we earned it now. So I'm
You
gonna give
have.
your Raiders some props.
Hey, yeah.
I went with you on Thursday night. But the
sir.
last 2 months, the Raiders have been in every game they played in. Even that Packers game, which the score doesn't reflect it, the game turned after a goal line fumble. They ended up losing the ball. That could have been a 1-2 score game, but they've been in every game. So I think they're here. We got to keep giving them credit for it.
All right, we'll stay with you, Kev, and get into our rabbit hole segment. Take it away, sir.
All right. Okay, so for those who don't know, our rabbit hole segment centers around anything you see on social media, and as you shouldn't do, but all of us do, you click the comment section and you just scroll on down. So for this week, we are going right on back to last night's overtime game between Seahawks and the 49ers, where Pete Carroll sent his backup quarterback, Geno Smith, to midfield for the coin toss. And we're going to get right into it. At Ben Y. Arthur said that Geno came through for the team in the clutch for a 2nd consecutive week. He was unbelievable. And that's because Geno was asked by the official to select heads or tails during the coin flip. And the social media verse, including our group chat, was debating what they heard come out of Geno's mouth. So we have from at C Segrist 93. If you look at his profile pic, of course his name is Cody. He posted the meme of the white girl and the white cat, where the girl is screaming heads and then the cat is like, nah, tails, like relax. Another post we got was from J.K. Hutnick, who posted, I heard the voice of Matt Hasselbeck say, we'll take the ball and we're going to score, which you've been watching football long enough. You remember that classic coin toss moment between Seattle and Green Bay. My favorite tweet was from Kevin McCullough, who said, actually, it sounds like he says hails, combination of heads and tails, which, if so, is just a brilliant coin toss strategy, and Seahawks deserve to win just based on that. In which Admiral Setter said, he absolutely said hails, which I think everyone after this show, not right now, but after the show, should go listen to the video. I did it maybe 15 times, and he definitely said hails. Look, the debate is out there. Some people heard heads, some people heard tails, some people still hear Tom Brady calling Ed Reed the N-word, but I think the takeaway from this segment is that in order to be a successful team, you need all 53 men on the roster to be dedicated to winning. And in the year of the backup quarterback, Mr. Eugene Cyril Smith III, a.k.a. Geno Smith, did his fucking part. He deserves some credit.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. But before we do, let's get to our game picks. This is not a week to be proud. This was a rough week across the board with our wins.
Not for less.
I mean, there's
Let's do some shit on the wall.
there's grass over dirt and there's dirt. We've got Les who made some ground. He's still pulling up the slack. Looks like Redo and Dad are tied. But we've still got about 6-7 weeks left. We will start with the game in Baltimore, an interesting matchup between the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. I definitely know that the Baltimore boys are picking Baltimore.
Yep.
Redo, who do you have?
They deserve my respect. I'm picking Baltimore. Even though I think it's going to be a great game. I do, and I'm interested to see both quarterbacks play, but I'm picking Baltimore.
The last time that both quarterbacks played was actually in October of 2016, a 4-0 Louisville versus a 4-0 Clemson. Lamar had 450 yards of offense. Deshaun Watson threw 5 touchdowns. There were also 7 first-round picks in that game.
We played half of them.
Yeah, Cleveland Farrell sacked Lamar twice. Jair Alexander, who plays for Green Bay, picked off Deshaun Watson twice. I'm picking Baltimore to win the game. Junior Blue, who you got? Baltimore, clean sweep.
God damn it. I don't like this. I'm
getting nervous.
All right, let's go over to Philadelphia, who the league ambassadors are saying, Skinny, close your ears, are going to win the NFC East. If they're going to do it, they've got to start now. They've got New England coming to town. Kevin, who do you have?
I don't like picking this, but I'll go with New England. They're coming off a bye. It's Bill Belichick. They're angry. They're pissed off.
Yeah, Bill Belichick off a bye. I'm gonna take him every time.
Interesting. Philadelphia's coming off of a bye, Dad.
The Patriots are 14-5 coming off of a bye with Bill Belichick, but they're only 6-3 this decade, and they cannot stop the run. If Philly runs, it's Philly. I got the Eagles. It's a if.
Big if.
Yeah.
I got New England.
Don't be Andy.
Yeah.
That's all I hear all the time. Don't be Andy. Listen, you've got the strength of the Eagles, which is their defensive line, going against the weakness of New England, which is the offensive line. The game is won in the trenches. I like Philadelphia barely. To win in a close game. And then finally, we have our final NFL international matchup in Mexico. This game was supposed to happen last year. Well, Kansas City was supposed to be there last year going against the Rams. That was the historic Monday night matchup we had. It's the Chargers this year, Redo. Kansas City, Chargers, who you got?
I will say this. They will be closer to San Diego, and there will still be more Kansas City Chiefs fans in the game. I'm taking Kansas City.
Skin Flint. It's definitely the Chiefs.
It's definitely the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
You're picking the Chiefs. I like the Chargers in an upset. Chargers. Well, the Chargers are practicing in Colorado in elevation. For those of you that know, Mexico City, it's a lot of elevation. Kansas City is staying in Missouri, and the Chargers will have 11 days off before the game. Kevin, what say you?
Going with the Chiefs. I feel like they gave one away last week. The Chargers are going to find a way to lose this one, as they always do. Andy Reid put some sriracha in that rice. So.
Oh, my God. All right, we're going to get out of here. This has been another episode of 32 Kings Road. As a reminder, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Subscribe to and rate our channel, League Ambassadors. And we will have a special guest next week. See you then. Cheerio.
2 weeks, but...
We busted in, we broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.